Hello, my name is Jeff Krentar. I am a CAD BIM specialist and an Autodesk certified instructor at Robotech CAD Solutions in Hoboken, New Jersey. And today's presentation is Make the Move to Revit. During this presentation, we're going to start a brand new project using a template that comes with Revit. We'll describe some of the benefits that come with using a model. So transitioning to building information modeling and the benefits that you could get from it. We'll use some of the features that come with Revit architecture, the parametric 3D design tools, and we'll create some construction documents. We'll also leave some time at the end for some questions and answers, if you have any. Before we get started with the presentation, let's talk a little bit about Robotech. We are a gold partner. We've been in business since 1983 as a provider of CAD, BIM, and CAFM software. And we could help you select the best software for the needs of your business and help you make the transition during each stage of the implementation. Part of the implementation might involve training. We are also an Autodesk authorized training center and can help with that. We have a training center right in Hoboken, right down the street from the train, and we also offer on-site training at your location. We do technical support, whether it's over the phone, through email. We could even connect to your machine remotely. So let's get started with the presentation. Okay, so here we are in Revit 2016. And this is the recent files screen. It's the screen that will automatically pop up when you first open up Revit, and it'll show you projects that you've had open recently and families that you may have had open recently. Now, projects are the files that you're working in all the time. We're creating a three-dimensional model of a building with all of its components, and that type of file is a project. And then we have these families, and families are different types of objects that you can load into a project. So a family can be, it could be a window, it could be a door, it could be a plumbing fixture, a lighting fixture. There's so many different types of objects that a family can be, and these families, you take them and you load them into your projects and you use them. So projects are the files that you're in most of the time. Now we're going to start up a brand new project using this architectural template that comes with Revit. Now everything you'll see in this presentation is Revit right out of the box, as if you installed it on your machine, except for files that I've had open recently. But the template that came with Revit and everything that we're going to be using is Revit right out of the box. So I'm going to start this project using an architectural template that came with Revit. And this is the Revit interface, and right away you might be familiar with this interface because it's not all that different than AutoCAD. It has the ribbon just like in AutoCAD, it has the quick access toolbar, and it has the applications menu. But other than that, the Revit is a lot different than AutoCAD. You'll see here, instead of using lines, arcs, and circles that represent building elements like walls and doors, you're using real smart objects, walls, doors, windows, and these are very intelligent objects that we're going to be using over this presentation. Here are your properties in your project browser. We're going to be dealing with the properties of objects and the properties of views, and this is our project browser. Now this is the magic of Revit, because what we're doing with Revit is we're creating a three-dimensional model of a building, and we're slicing it up all different ways. We're slice through it and look down, it's a floor plan. Slice through it, look up, it's a ceiling plan. We could have wall sections, building sections, elevations, 3D views, even schedules. And all of these are different ways of viewing your model, viewing information about your model. So it's one model, and it's a lot of different ways to view that model. Now the nice thing about this is, if you're in a floor plan and you make a change, maybe you move a window, you move a door, it's automatically going to update everywhere that element can be seen. So if you move that door in a floor plan, if you went to the elevation, you would see that door moved. Or if you change that door type, you go to the elevation, it automatically changes the door type. If you change the door type, it automatically changes it in the schedules. You make a change in one place, it makes a change everywhere. It's a very smart way of working. So here we are in our Revit project, and the first thing we're going to do is add some levels. Now, levels aren't necessarily the first thing that you have to add to a project, but that's what we're going to use for the presentation now. Levels are very important. Everything in Revit is associated to a level somehow, so it's important that you get these levels in. Now I've added these levels. I'm just going to rename them real fast, very similar to renaming a attribute in AutoCAD. And we have these levels. Now we also need floor plans for those levels and maybe ceiling plans. So I'm going to make different ways of viewing the information on those levels. So I'm going to make some floor plans. And I'll also make some ceiling plans. Good. So we have all of our levels in. I'm going to go to my level 1 floor plan, and I'll start laying out some walls. So in my wall command, I could pick different types of walls, and right now I'm not really sure what type of wall I want to use. So I'm just going to pick a wall type that comes with Revit, and I'll set a height to it. I'll set a location line. Now these are all things that you'll learn if you come to our Revit Level 1 class. Okay, so what we're building is we're building an apartment building, and it's going to have 8 units, and all the units are identical. So basically, I drew one quadrant of the building, and I'm just going to start mirroring it to get all the other 3 quadrants. Okay, so this is what we have right now, and if I go to the 3D view, you can check it out. Now, I have these walls that go from level 1 up to the roof. Now you'll notice some parts I didn't mirror because I didn't want to have 2 separate walls, like a little piece here and a little piece here. So I'm just going to use some cleanup tools. This is trim extend to corner. You could see I could do it in a floor plan, I could do it in the 3D view. It doesn't matter, wherever you're more comfortable. Now I have these walls. Now the wall types, when we started working on this project, I wasn't really sure what wall type I wanted to use. But now further along in the project, I'm ready to start adding real wall types. And you'll see that I can simply just select the walls and change them to the wall type that I want to use. Now these are wall types that come with this template, and you can also instead of using walls that come with the template, you can create your own wall type by selecting a wall, duplicating it, changing some of the properties, giving it a different name. You could create your own custom wall types, and when you create your own wall types, you'll be able to add all the materials, the functions of those materials, and the thicknesses of those materials to the wall. So it's a very smart program. You're not limited to what comes with Revit. It has a lot of capabilities for you to create your own custom content. So here we are with our walls. Okay, so through the magic of computers, we have all of our different wall types in now, and we've added some wall types that have siding, and you can see different visual styles. If I go to shaded, or if I even go to realistic, you can look at it with all different types of visual styles, and you can see the different materials. Now, I'm going to take all these walls now and copy them down. To the TO footing level, and you'll see the walls overlap, but we're going to fix that. So I'm going to go to still in the 3D view, but looking at it like I'm almost at an elevation. I'm going to select the walls and lower them down so they only go up to level 1. We could even change them to a different wall type. Okay, so I'll open up my TO footing view now, and we're going to start putting our footings in. But before I do that, we'll have to change the view range. Good. So about to put the footings in. Now, if you're more comfortable, a lot of people like to work in multiple views at the same time. So I could tile these windows. Now I'm in my 3D view. I'm in my floor plan. And as you're working in your floor plan, you can kind of watch it update in 3D. So I'm going to start putting my footings in. Good. So I have my footings in. You can watch it in 3D. Now we'll start laying out our interior walls on level 1. Now we're going to do this a couple of different ways. There are a few different styles that you can use when you're working in Revit. So I'm going to choose my wall type that I want to use. And I'll first start by just drawing a wall right down the center of our project here. And then I'm just going to start laying out some walls. Now this first method we'll use is I'm just going to start sketching them. I'm just going to start sketching these walls in, exact location. I don't really care. I'm not too concerned about that because it's so easy to move things around in Revit. Just kind of drawing them in. You'll see as we're drawing the walls too, all of the intersections automatically clean up. Now, I put these walls in, and if I click on a wall, you'll see these temporary dimensions. Now, right out of the box, they're dimensioning center to center, so I'm just going to make them a little bit easier to use, and this is a setting that you can include in your template. And like I said, this is all stuff that we learn in our Revit Level 1 class. So real easy to move these walls around. Now I'm simply just clicking on them, changing the dimension. These are called temporary dimensions. Not sure if you're looking at how I'm typing in these dimensions, but it's real easy. You just separate everything with spaces. So for example, like 5 feet is just 5 enter, or 5'6" would be 5 space 6. 5'6.5" could be 5 space 6.5. Now for something like this, you might choose to put a real dimension on it. So I'm in the dimension command. I'm going to change it to wall faces. Now this setting that I'm changing up here is a set it and forget it. Once you change that, it's going to be like that for the day. So real easy. I could click on this wall, change the length of it. Okay. Now that method there was, we were kind of just sketching it in. We weren't exactly sure the exact locations of our walls, so we drew it in, and then we started moving them around later. Now this method that we're using now, I'm going to start being a little more precise. So for example, I'm going to get this wall in here. Temporary dimensions, you could always move them around, so it's not dimensioning to the wall that I want. I can move it right away, right as I'm, moving these things around. Good. I'm using a lot of keyboard shortcuts to make things a little bit faster, but you'll see I'm kind of just hovering over this corner here, waiting for it to show me that dimension, and I'm just typing in where I want it to go. So you are able to draw it exact right off the bat. You don't have to put it in and then use your temporary dimensions to move it around later. You can add your walls correctly right away. Now you can use temporary dimensions, you could use permanent dimensions like we did here, and you could even draw it precisely right as you're drawing your walls. So Revit is a very it's a very fun, very easy workflow once you get the hang of it. Just cleaning up a little bit here. So I just put a couple of interior walls in there. Okay, so here we are. We're still in level 1. We've put the interior partitions into this one unit, and now we're going to start adding doors and windows. So I'm in my door command. I'll pick a door type that I have in our template, and I'll just start placing them in. Now you'll see that these doors are host-based elements. They need a wall to attach to. You'll see that as soon as I get close to a wall, it automatically shows me a little preview, and I'm placing it in. It automatically trims the wall as I'm putting it in. It's a very smart way of working. Now I'm just kind of putting these doors anywhere I want, because I could always add new doors later. I could always change the location of the door, change the type. So you could always select a door, use temporary dimensions, just like we moved walls around. We could move doors around. It automatically tagged the door, but we can always change the door number. If you don't like the door type, if you want a different size, you can always change it. You could select them, change them to different type. So it's a very smart way of working. You could always make changes later. You're not locked down once you put these things in. You could always add more. Beautiful. Now this template comes in with these different door types, and I need a different door type that's not in this template. So Revit comes with a pretty large library that you can load things into your project. And if you don't find what you need, a lot of times you could find it from a manufacturer. So manufacturers are providing all their different types of Revit families for us to download and use in our projects. Beautiful. So here we have some doors in here, and like I said, you could always renumber them later if you don't like the way they're numbered. They're numbered in the order that they're added to your project. Now I'll start adding some windows. Now, just like doors, you have these different types of windows loaded into your project. If you don't have the type you need, you can always load it in. So I'm going to go to that library and load in some windows. Choose the type that you want to use and start placing it in. Very similar to doors. These are host-based elements. Very smart. Okay, so now we have our windows in. Since we have our windows in, why don't we go in and start putting a floor in? So the floor command, when you're making a floor, you're in this floor command, and it has to be a closed loop. So I'm going to select all these walls here. That's going to be the boundary of our floor. We could choose a floor type that we want to use, but just like you make wall types, you can make custom floor types just the same exact way. You would go to edit type, duplicate, give it a new name, give it its materials, its functions, and a thickness. So if you can make a wall type, you can make a floor type, you can make a roof type, a ceiling type. They're all very similar. So I've created these walls. I created the floor, and it's asking if we want the walls that go up to this floor's level to attach to its bottom. I'm going to say yes. And now we have we have a floor on level 1. Now we would have to do the same thing on level 2 and probably in our basement as well. But it's all very similar, so we won't be doing that for this presentation. It's all very similar. So here we have our walls, we have our floors, and now we should just start putting in some components. Components can be so many different things. It could be a piece of furniture, it could be a piece of casework. There's so many different things a component can be. Now if I look at my component command and I take a look at my type selector, here are a few things that are loaded into the project, but same thing, we're not limited to what you see here. So same thing as we can load in doors, we can load in windows, we can load in different types of components. So I'm going to load in some furniture. I'll just use some furniture that comes with Revit, but same thing, you can download furniture from manufacturers. So I just put this table in here. I'm going to find a chair. Just tapping my spacebar to rotate it around, drop it into place. Good. Now, it's all very similar. I mean, once you start putting components in, very similar to moving blocks around in AutoCAD. You're just laying out your floor plan, getting all your different types of components in there. Okay, so here we are. We have all of these components in this unit, and now we're going to start turning it into a group. Now, the reason why we're turning this into a group is because all of the other units are all identical. So if we turn this into a group and later on decide that we need to make a change, all we have to do is make a change to this one unit and it would automatically reflect to the other 7. So I've selected all the objects that I want to add to the group. Now I'm going to add a group, name it, good. Now that this is a group, it's real easy to take and mirror to the other side. Good. And I'll take that and I'll mirror them down. We have some overlapping walls here. I'm just going to delete. Perfect. Okay, so we've mirrored those. Now we're just going to take them and copy them up to level 2. Okay, so we've taken this, all these objects here, we've turned them into a group, and then we took that group and we mirrored them. So they're all linked together now. So if we ever make a change to this group, it'll automatically reflect to all the other units. So for example, let's say we decide that we want to move this wall a little bit. We could take this wall, we can move it. You'll automatically see that change in all of these other units. So that closet's a little bit bigger now. So you can make a change to the group similar to making a change to a block in AutoCAD, and it reflects to all the other blocks. While you make a change to the group here, it reflects to all the other groups. If we go to our 3D view, we haven't added a floor to level 2 yet. You should be able to see straight through, but we're going to add the floor now. So I'll go to my level 2 floor plan. Add the boundary lines. Perfect. Okay. And now we have a floor on level 2. So one of the last things we're going to do, we'll add the roof. So I'm going to go to my roof plan. Okay, so we have the roof here. We still see all of the objects on level 2 because of something called an underlay. So I'm going to set the underlay to none. But what the underlay lets you do, lets you use another level as a reference, so you can trace over it and use it as a reference. So once you're tired of looking at it, you could always turn it off. Now it looks like we have a big hole cut out of a roof. But if I go to the 3D view, you can see that's not the case. We don't have a big hole cut out of the roof. We just have to make some adjustments to the cut plane for this view. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my view range and make changes to the cut plane. So this is all stuff that we cover in our level 1 class, and we cover it in great detail. So I mean, during this presentation we've been doing things very fast, changing a lot of settings. Basically, I haven't really been explaining what we're doing because we do that in a 3-day class in much greater detail. We couldn't possibly cover all of this information in 30 minutes, or in less than an hour or so. So it takes about 3 days to cover this information. If you don't like the slopes, you could always change them. So if I click on the roof, change the slope here. If you want to control what sides have a slope to them, then you can always go back into this sketch mode and you can select which sides have a slope. Perfect. So now we have something like this. Now, by changing the slope, you could see that we have to raise some of these walls up. So I'm going to select these walls here. And attach them up to the roof. Perfect. So we've added our roof. We've made a group. We mirrored the group, copied them from level to level. We're doing very good. Okay, so here we are back in our level 1 floor plan, and we're about to add the stairs. So I'm going to start this really great command, stair by component. Now, based on all the properties in the stair, it knows what level it's coming from, the height, so it knows what level it's going to. It automatically calculates the number of risers based on the criteria in the properties of the stairs. So in the properties of the stairs, you can tell it the maximum riser height, the minimum tread depth, and based on that, the height of the level, it'll automatically calculate how many risers you need. Now you could always add more risers and you can make them more shallow, but you can't have less risers because then it would go over that maximum riser height. Going to just draw in along the left side of the stair here. So my first click was going up. I'm bringing it up all the way. You could even kind of see that it says how many risers are created and how many are remaining. You even feel your mouse kind of snapping to each riser. So we've made this one stair. I'm going to make the other one. I'm just going to mirror it down to here. Beautiful. And if we go to level 2, we could cut the openings for that. So I'm going to go to my level 2 floor plan. I'll edit the floor. And we can put a little boundary line around that. And I just mirrored it down to there. Beautiful. That's it. So now we have the openings for the stairs. So during this presentation we spent a lot of time looking at the modeling tools, but now we're going to talk about creating the different views and getting those views onto sheets so we can print. So here we are in our level 1 floor plan, and we're going to start duplicating the views. So I'm going to duplicate level 1 and I'll rename it. Okay, so I have these two different views here. I have level 1 and level 1 furniture. Now level 1 furniture, I want to see all of the different components that we've put in, like the furniture and the casework and everything. But in level 1 I don't. So I'm going to go to my level 1 floor plan. I'll do a big selection over the entire thing. And I'll go to my filter here. Now I'm going to check everything that I don't want to see. And then if I right click, hide in view, hide in view category, now that's like freezing a layer. So, and by doing that, I only turned them off for this view. I only froze the layer for those views. Now, what really happens is in each one of these views, we have something called visibility graphics. And in visibility graphics, you can turn all of these different categories on and off. So by turning the casework off, by turning the furniture off, I did it in visibility graphics. So going to level 1 furniture, I still see everything, but going to level 1, I don't. So in my level 1 furniture plan, we've talked about floor plans. Now we can talk about elevations. So on my view tab, I'm going to make an elevation, interior elevation, say here, and we can look in all different directions. So it created 4 different elevations of this area here. So under my project browser, under elevations, you'll see these new elevations that we've just created. We could also create callouts. We can rename them. So we could create different types of views, elevations, we could create sections, 3D views, schedules. There's so many things we can do. I wish we had more time to talk about all this. But we can later take those views and we could put them onto sheets. So here in my project browser I have sheets. I'm going to make a new sheet. I'll just use this title block that's in the template, but of course you'll have to make your own company title blocks. There are some that come with Revit that you can use as a start when you're making your own. And then you basically take these views that we've been creating and you put them onto your sheets. So we have this floor plan. Just like in AutoCAD, you have paper space and model space. We could double click in and get the double click in and get the model space, double click in and get the paper space. We have this little icon here, show crop region, that lets you see the border, kind of like the border for your viewport. You have a border for your view here. It's called the crop region. Comes in with this view title. The view title already has the scale of the view, the name of the view, and the view number. You could have multiple views on the same sheet. I'm going to take that kitchen call out that we made and put it onto this sheet. Now you'll want to check out the beauty in this, because as soon as we took this call out, look what it did here. It automatically populated with the view number and the sheet number. Now it just so happens the call out is on the same sheet as this main view, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, you'll never have to fill these things out. You'll never have to go to each sheet making sure these are filled out properly. It automatically populates. Now if the sheet number ever changes, it'll automatically change on the call out bubble. It's a very smart way of working. So we have this call out here. We could take our elevations and we could put them on here. So there's so much we can do with this. I mean, it's amazing. So during this presentation, we started a project using a template that comes with Revit. Everything that we did was Revit right out of the box. So there wasn't anything custom. We saw the benefits of having a three-dimensional model and using real smart, intelligent building elements rather than just lines, arcs, and circles. We used a lot of the fundamental features in Revit architecture. We used the 3D design tools, and we placed a couple of those views on some sheets. So I'm going to take this off of speakerphone now, and we're going to have some time for questions and answers. So here we go.